Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. And let me say this. If you listen to Thursday's show, we did a big segment about a slew of guys who hit the portal on late Thursday afternoon. Andrei Stojakovic from Cal, also Chad Baker-Mazara, and we also talked about PJ Haggerty, the guard from Memphis, okay? And so it was interesting because if you listen to the show on Thursday, we talked a little bit about PJ Haggerty, and I kind of hinted at something that kind of became a report as far as what PJ Haggerty might be requesting via the transfer portal now that he entered. Producer Matt, why don't you play the sound of me talking about PJ Haggerty on last Thursday's Aaron Torres pod right after he entered the portal? As far as opportunities, I'll say this. The first thing I can tell you, be ready to break out the checkbook, okay? Just be, because every fan base is like, oh, we're going to get him. No, he's our guy. He's our guy. He's going to. I will tell you this. I had two separate people tell me this on Thursday. So remember that report from about 2.5 weeks ago, JT Toppin, Big 12 Player of the Year, decides not even to test the NBA draft waters, and he decides that he's going to come back to college basketball and play for Texas Tech. And we saw the report that he was reportedly getting paid about $4 million over the course of next season at Texas Tech. Well, I bring it up. I had multiple people tell me, you want PJ Haggerty, he's looking for that Texas Tech money. Let me put it this way. When FedEx is out of money and they can't pay you, that means. All right, so I didn't officially say, because I re-listened to it over the weekend, I did not officially say that PJ Haggerty was asking for $4 million. But what I said was he's asking for that JT Toppin money. And basically what he said was, well, wait a second now. JT Toppin, kind of a second, third team All-American type guy, Big 12 Player of the Year. Texas Tech reportedly was set to pay him $4 million a year. And PJ Haggerty basically said, well, wait a second. Now, I averaged 21 points per game. I was a second-team AP All-American. If JT Toppin's getting $4 million, I want $4 million as well. So I didn't technically say $4 million, but I kind of hinted it was going to be somewhere close. Well, I bring it up because, Producer Matt, you could throw up the Jeff Goodman tweet from Friday because we got a little bit more clarity. Goodman basically saying exactly what I said. Memphis transfer PJ Haggerty's camp is asking for $4 million plus. Then here's the kicker. And for him to spend the majority of his time at point guard, sources involved in the recruitment told the field of 68. So I'll be real. I heard the $4 million price tag. I did not hear personally the demand to play point guard. I think it makes this a fascinating recruitment. So let's go ahead and discuss it, okay? So first of all, I think what becomes interesting about this recruitment, by the way, as always, CBB transfers on Twitter, CBB transfers on Instagram. Portal closes this week, but we are going to cover this until everybody of note is committed. CBB transfers on Instagram and Twitter. So with Haggerty, what I think becomes interesting about this recruitment, I actually think the part that I think most people find the most interesting is actually the less interesting part. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that if it was only about the $4 million price tag, I actually think that's sort of doable. It sounds crazy. And you're going to sit there and say, wait a second, Torres, Tennessee wouldn't give Nico Iamaleava $4 million to play quarterback, but somebody's going to give PJ Haggerty $4 million to play for their college basketball team. That makes no sense. Well, I'm here to tell you, different sport with different kind of expectations and requirement. And with PJ Haggerty, there's a couple things here. One, the going rate for really good All-American type players is about $3 to $4 million. It just is. JT Toppin's at $4 million. Some of these freshmen, I think AJ DeBonsa is well over $4 million. I don't think he's at the 7 that was reported, but I think he's probably at about $4 million. Donovan Dent, we believe, was about a $3 million a year player. So if those guys are worth that much, I don't think it's crazy for PJ Haggerty to get 4, especially because, as we keep talking about, there are so many teams that still need difference-making players. We keep talking about this, but it's so important. You have a bunch of really good schools that have had a ton of success, that lost a ton of players and have a ton of holes still to fill, and the portal's about to close. There aren't those impact difference makers still in the portal. Think about it. Florida had 4 guards that they were relying on last year. 3 of them graduated. 1 of them just transferred in Denzel Aberdeen. They've added Xavier Lee, and that's really about it. Florida needs players. Ole Miss needs a whole bunch of players. And Chris Beard, I'm here to tell you, I've been covering Chris Beard's career. He ain't going into next year and just saying, okay, we were really good last year. We made a Sweet 16. It's okay if we punt on 2025, 2026. Okay. That's not happening. Auburn obviously has added a couple really nice pieces the last couple days. Elijah Freeman. They've added, who am I blanking on? The Kevin Overton. They've added some really nice pieces. They still probably need a guy or two for their backcourt. Tennessee, I know they added Nate Ament. They need another guy in their backcourt. Kansas with Darren Peterson. They need more guys. Just trust me, they do. Darren Peterson can't do it all by himself, okay? Where it gets interesting. So the point I guess I'm trying to make, they will get their money. Maybe not $4 million on the dot. They will get money because, again, there are teams that need players, and the demand for great talent does not meet the supply that is going to be available. But where it gets complicated, I cannot emphasize this enough. PJ Hagerty ain't a point guard, okay? Listen, I love the player. He's very talented. He's 6'3", and to a degree, I understand the idea of him asking to be your starting point guard because he's 6'3". He's got 1 year of eligibility left. No, he might have 2, but he's 6'3". If he's ever going to play a minute in the NBA, he's going to have to be your primary ball handler. He's going to have to be your point guard. The problem becomes, and it's pretty straightforward, that ain't what he is. And 2, that takes away what he does best. So think about it. If PJ Hagerty comes in and plays point guard, not only are you paying him a crap ton of money, but also he ain't a point guard. Yes, he averaged 3.7 assists per game this year. He also averaged 3.3 turnovers per game this year. That's not his game. His game is attacking the basket, getting to the foul line. He led the nation in free throw attempts, I believe. If not, he was in the very short conversation. But 2, here's the other thing. When he's playing point guard, when he's setting up other people, that's taking away what he does best, which again is getting to the basket and putting the ball in the basket to the tune of 21.5 points per game last year. So I just bring it up because listen, I don't have a problem with anybody asking for anything, but you have to be willing to adjust in negotiations, and you have to be willing for somebody to be like, oh no, that's not who you are. That's not what you do well, and we'll pay you to be you, but we're not going to pay you to be somebody else. It's like Nico Iamaleava. Nico, he's allowed to ask for $4 million, but if you don't get $4 million, you better be ready to either take whatever Tennessee wants to give you or go somewhere else. It was a disastrous negotiation for Nico. I don't think it's going to be for PJ Hagerty, but that's why I keep bringing it up, because to me, this is where it gets very interesting if you're PJ Hagerty, and very interesting if you're a team recruiting him. If he's not going to budge off this point guard thing, I actually don't think the market is that good. If he is willing to budge off the point guard thing, then I think he's going to get close to $4 million somewhere else. And so ultimately, I'll say this. I don't want to say it's early because you just never know what, sometimes guys go in the portal, they commit ASAP. Denzel Aberdeen enters on Friday. He's committed Monday morning. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. And so to me, I think you're going to have to sort through all this if you're PJ Hagerty. Maybe you have to go back hat in hand to a school or two that you said, we're only doing this if I'm a point guard. You might have to go back and say, okay, we still want that $3.5-4 million that you offered us, and we're willing to listen if you're not a point guard. And the one thing I will say, if he's willing to not be a point guard, like I said, I think there are spots for him. Darren Peterson needs help at Kansas. We talked about last week, Tyron Stokes visited Kansas this weekend. I think he is going to reclassify eventually. Kansas needs help around Darren Peterson besides Flory Badunga. Ole Miss needs just everything. PJ Hagerty played at Memphis. Memphis and Ole Miss are right down the street from each other. I'll say this. I mentioned it in the Arkansas segment. I think Arkansas still feels like they need more help in the backcourt with scoring, and that they maybe don't have enough right now. But they don't need a point guard. I'll tell you, they got TJ Wagner. They got Darius Acuff. They got Malik Thomas. They don't need another guy that needs the ball in his hands to be a difference maker. And so if PJ Hagerty wants to be a point guard, they're off the board. If PJ Hagerty is willing to play off the ball, maybe Arkansas is in the mix. I said Ole Miss. I still think Florida needs players, and I'm telling you, Todd Golden just got a taste of that sweet, sweet Final Four juice. Got a taste of the podium on Monday night. You think he wants to go into next year with a team that's, a fringe NCAA tournament team? I don't think so. So I could go on and on. The point has been made. PJ Hagerty is a fascinating case of what goes on in the portal, what are realistic expectations, what is not. Because if this kid decides to stay in the portal and he's willing to get off the point guard stuff, I think he has a huge, huge, huge market. Even, yes, it's late in the portal cycle, but teams have money to burn and they need difference makers, but not at the point guard position, not for that guy.